Alright, what's up guys? Ryan from Elevate Security here with another OSCP web app vulnerability exploitation related video here. Now, in this one I want to be talking about what's kind of a special case vulnerability, but if you can find it, it's an absolute gold mine, and it is the idea of web shells, exploiting web shells pretty easily. Now, to be honest, if you find a web shell, typically that's a pretty easy exploit to begin with. But if you're not familiar with what a web shell is, basically, honestly, I don't think in the real world it's used hardly ever today because it's such a security vulnerability. But during the development phase, developers might want to upload a shell that is web accessible in order to sort of streamline being able to perform that the system, or run system commands, run commands on the underlying OS. Instead of having to go back and forth between a shell and the site and stuff, just to streamline that process. So they might upload a shell that allows them to interact with the underlying operating system. Essentially, you already have access to the operating system, but through, not directly, like I'm not directly, when I'm typing all these commands, right? I'm not actually running the Linux commands myself. In this case, it's a PHP web shell, so I'm leveraging the PHP programming language through their own modules in order to run these commands. So PHP is running the underlying commands. I'm passing the data to PHP to run it. So I think there's like OS command or something like that. That's what I'm leveraging on the PHP programming language to do it. So that's an important distinction, and I've mentioned that in some previous videos as well. But yeah, if you have this level of access, if you find a full-on web shell where you can run code, there's so many different ways that you can actually upgrade this shell to like your standard netcat shell. Now, maybe they have something like netcat running, and I'll just pull up a bunch of different ways here to give you guys some information on different ways to get shells. Right, so there's a bunch of different ways to get shells through netcat, and I'll just show you some here. You could try netcat with the -e flag. Now, it depends on the system whether their version of netcat supports the -e option, but if it does, then that's a super easy way to get the shell. You just tell it what shell, like /bin/sh, for example. You can get your standard shell there, and then pass your attacker IP and listener port. Of course, all of this stuff assumes that we have a listener running on our system, so something like this, 9001. And then I don't think this is going to work in this case because I don't think it has that. But if it did, I could run something like this, like my IP address, port 9001. In this case, their version of netcat doesn't support -e. Okay, that's fine. We'll just go on to the next thing, right? Going back to the whole concept of low-hanging fruit, you want to try the easiest things first, typically. Yep, if there's no -e available, then here's another one I could try. The dev TCP method is another thing that we could try. I don't think any of these are going to work though, so I'm just going to save us some time. I've actually exploited this box before. This is the bashed box from Hack the Box. This is the most, I found that, where is it? This method has been one of the most consistent. The make FIFO, whatever. I don't even think I have it in my notes here, but let me pull it up really quick. The one that I've found to be the most consistent exploit for this, for spawning a shell. We go to a site that I brought up before, Pentest Monkey. Here, the pentestmonkey.net, reverse shells. Tell it to go here anyways. And this one right here, this has been by far, this is really small, I know. I don't know how to make this any bigger, but here, let me just, and this isn't going to work on this box because they do something special to basically ensure that it doesn't work, and you end up having to upload a PHP reverse shell. So something from here, we could download a PHP reverse shell and run it, and that's how we essentially can get a shell on the system. But going back to what I was talking about here, let's just paste this in here so you can see it better. Yeah, something like this. And this is something you can just type into your notes. You don't have to memorize this. I certainly don't have this memorized, but this is another way. This is what I found the most consistent way. If you have some code execution through any means, doesn't even have to be a web shell, any means that you can get code execution on the underlying system, pass this command. Only thing is you would change this IP address to be your attacker IP address, my system's IP address, and the port that I'm listening on. So maybe 9001 in the case of what I was doing earlier instead of 1234. But yeah, that's just how you would want to modify for that. So yeah, that's a simple way to exploit web shells. Now the reason I'm not doing it hands-on here is this one's a bit of a special case. They appended certain redirect to the end of these so that I can't use those traditional methods to spawn a shell, and it's kind of out of the scope of this video, the way you end up exploiting this box. You end up having to upload a PHP shell, I believe, which that's something that I'm going to cover in a future video, is how to really exploit the file upload stuff to get shells. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. We'll keep it a little bit shorter this time around. If you find, the long and short of it is, if you find a web shell, it's often very trivial to sort of elevate that to your own netcat shell, which you'll have more functionality, more control, be able to do more, and you just go from there. So yeah, I hope this video has been of value to you. Definitely, if you're enjoying this content, subscribe, hit the like button to help out with the algorithms. And yeah, stay tuned for some future OSCP related content as we rattle through the syllabus and really try to cover all the topics that you really need to know and distill it in a very simplistic way. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.